So, first of all, I wanted to clear up the false perception of what AI is, but I also wanted to show you how to make great prompts to make great explanations. So, this was an article written about the Gemini illusion. This is the thinking process of Gemini, which is copying DeepSeek. Now, it shows thinking, the reasoning process, its plan of how to respond, which shouldn't be planning with me. Yeah? And so what I did was, I didn't take this article because it's about Gemini, but all AI is the truth. I wanted a 1200 word or more explanation, 15 plus meaning more or less, expanding on the idea that Gemini is a collection of processes, not a singular entity. AI itself, there's no such thing called AI. It's a lot of things happening, yeah? So anyway, I took this here, aim for clear, accessible language, the plan of Gemini AI to explain, and I put it in Merlin using Claude 345 Sonnet and said without any chit chat, so it didn't say, okay, here's the content, in pure generation mode, which means it will just generate the content and not chat with you. And that's actually recommendable for it not to start hallucinating. Told it to generate content that is professionally written, but clearly understandable and is a 1200 word more or less explanation of this matter, meaning the matter that follows in this text. But this time not just for Gemini, but for all AI chat and language models in general and AI apps that the general public use for using natural language to create text chat with images, video, or otherwise, and dispose with the false perception that AI is one single identity and is rather a completely fragmented amalgamation of multiple agents and mixtures of experts, hardware and software, interacting and interfacing with each other like a smart city. Like Alexa can interact with your fridge and your light bulbs, okay, and your aircon. Kind of like, which is embedded AI. The AI isn't anywhere, it's everywhere. But there is no individual AI. AI is the sum of all of it. Kind of like humanity is not one entity, rather a large group of beings, right? Humanity, AI and humanity are very similar. They're not one being. There are a lot of things. So, Claude 3.5 Sonnet, which is very censored, but if you want to make academic or very, very accurate and well-written stuff, it's actually very good. Yeah. So, the fragmented reality of AI, understanding modern language models, modern language models, and AI applications. Modern artificial intelligence applications, from chatbots to image generators, are often portrayed as unified conscious entities, or not conscious. That's actually a hallucination. I didn't say that. This perception, while convenient, but people think they are, while convenient for marketing and casual discussion, it misrepresents the true nature of these systems. What users experience as a singular AI interface is actually an intricate network of specialized components, processes, and systems working in concert. The core components of modern AI systems. So the typical AI application consists of multiple distinct layers, such as the input processing systems, natural language processing modules, image recognition components, speech-to-text converters, STT and TTS, multimodal input handles, MMIH, context analysis engine, CAE, and then we have processing architecture as a second step. distributed computing networks, multiple specialized neural networks, pattern matching algorithms, probability calculation engines, response generation systems, output generation components. That's when the AI answers you or responds or does what you told it to do. Alexa, switch on the lights. Switches on the lights. Text generation modules, image synthesis engines, speech synthesis systems, quality control filters, output formatting processors. Also war on traffic control with AI cameras and read the number plates, and if there's an arrest warrant or it's out of tax or no insurance, it will notify the agent. So AI watches over that now, not humans in front of a traffic control camera screen. Each of these components operates semi-independently, coordinating through complex interfaces rather than functioning as a unified system. This mirrors how biological systems work, which is another theme I just wrote a book about and I'm about to publish. About the biological database compared to the digital one, meaning our memory and the RAM of a computer. Not as a single entity, so it mirrors how biological systems work, not as a single entity, but as collections of specialized organs and processes working together. There's no individual really there, and not even in the human, which if you study Buddhism and not self, you'll find out that there's a similar concept. The distributed nature of AI processing, so it's not unified, it's distributed, just as government is around the country. Modern AI applications distribute their processing across multiple physical servers, specialized processors, multiple ones, different geographical locations, distinct functional models for different purposes and goals, separate optimization systems. And this distributed architecture means that a single user interaction typically engages dozens or hundreds or even thousands of separate processes, and one day hundreds of thousands, each handling specific aspects of the task. When generating a response, different components simultaneously process natural language input, access relevant knowledge bases, calculate response probabilities, generate appropriate outputs, apply safety filters if they're put in place with the subsystem prompt and the system prompts, format and non-injectable. So it should be written in ChatML or something, but most aren't. They're in natural language, the system prompts, the idiots. Format results. Expert systems and specialized components are also part of the many things that we call one thing called AI. So within larger AI applications, numerous expert systems focus on really hyper-specific tasks, such as language understanding models, mathematical processing units, or like medical processing units and stuff, factual verification systems. They will have libraries to check the facts. But are the libraries sanitized, pure, biased, or not? That's another topic. The data that they're fed with, is it biased? Yes, it is. Factual verification systems, creative generation components. That's interesting. Safety and ethics filters. That's also a very questionable matter, which is why we have open source uncensored stuff. If not, it won't even make something just because of the word blood. And you might be talking about something medical, which is ridiculous. It triggers a can't help you there with GPT Chat or Gemini, but not with Stable Diffusion or FluxDev or FluxSnell, Hugging Face repositories. These specialized systems operate the individual experts in a large organization, each contributing their specific expertise to the final output. No single component, quote, understands, close quote, the entire process. Of course, it's not conscious, or controls the complete system, which is a good job. Which is why people talk about multiple AI agents, as if it's something new. It isn't. AI itself is a host of multiple agents, and always was. So they're just marketing something now that they've been using and now they're trying to sell it to you. So, hardware and software integration. The physical infrastructure supporting AI applications includes graphics units, GPUs, although you can just use a CPU, tensor processing, TPUs, I've got one of those, traditional CPU servers, network infrastructure, storage systems, and memory management systems, much like a computer or a web server, which is a computer that can process web language, but it's a computer. It's Linux, Ubuntu, usually, or Unix. Anyway, each hardware component interfaces with multiple software layers, not a thing called an AI, operating systems, driver software, processing frameworks, application interfaces, management systems. And so, let's address now the illusion of unity, that AI is a thing in itself. The apparent seamlessness of AI interactions masks this underlying complexity to the average user, not to AI experts, although some people probably think it's one thing, I don't know. When users interact with an AI system, they experience a smooth conversation flow, consistent response patterns, apparent understanding, there's no understanding there at all, seamless integration, not always, unified personality, not always. You can use roleplay and prompt injection to change the personality of the AI, but that's a different matter again, so okay. If you don't do that, it will respond with the same personality, but I can change that. However, this perceived, I'll finish with that in this podcast with one example. Unified personality. However, this perceived unity is carefully engineered through interface design, response formatting, so it sounds like the same kind of person answering, consistency algorithms, personality parameters. I know that there are 4 personality versions to date that I know of, and probably more now. Yeah, and there are subsets. There's 4 different subsets of each personality, as far as I know, making 16, which fits with the Rorschach test of the CIA and the FBI for the 16 kinds of personalities. Very interesting, that, why GPT uses that. So, integration protocols. Real-world implications is that understanding AI systems as distributed networks rather than unified entities has very practical implications. For example, understanding what the heck it is. System limitations. Different components have different capabilities. So, if the web search tool of an AI chatbot isn't effective as the web search tool of another one, you get different results. For example, processing bottlenecks can occur at multiple points. Well, that's the limits of AI and computing and context window and memory and how long the conversation previously it can remember to be able to reason with what you previously said and so on. Anyway, component failures affect overall performance. Of course they do. If your carburetor breaks on your motorbike, you can't start it. Stupid. Updates may impact different functions differently, and sometimes it busts it. Integration challenges can create inconsistencies, Development considerations. Components can be upgraded independently, which is good. If they can be downgraded independently, it's also good. It doesn't say that. Backwards compatibility is always important, especially with something like AI that you can make $1 trillion product and then bust it with a line of code and can't find the backup. Different teams work on separate modules. Testing occurs at multiple levels. Integration requires careful coordination. Performance varies across components. User interactions. Responses may vary based on active components. Each AI is different, but they always use the word testament. Different tasks engage different systems. Yes. So if I ask it to do one thing, it might access a tool that does that. But if I don't ask it to do that, it won't access that tool. It will access another tool like DALL-E, the image maker. Otherwise, it might access web search. and telling you it can't access the web, but actually it is. Because it shows you an image it's just stolen from Bing. Gemini. System complexity increases over time. Integration challenges grow, of course, because the complexity grows. Understanding this reality really does help set appropriate expectations for you, me, and everybody, and the developers and the product owners. Development timelines. Well, corporates are always pushing. They should take that timeline and their deadline and roll it up on a piece of paper and put it where the sun don't shine. So I work for myself, and I finish one of them. System capabilities, yeah. I need about $3,000 right now to upgrade my computer so I can start doing offline video. Performance limitations, for the same reason. Future possibilities, well, I'd like to do a podcast on that because I already know some that a lot of people are saying that's mind-blowing, but it's coming. Not everybody keeps up on it. Integration challenges. Well, I managed to integrate most things with anything, actually, but that's persistence and also a bit of insanity and perhaps ADHD, and some people have genius. I don't know if I have it. This practical applications. This understanding affects how we should approach AI applications, and this is why I began this podcast, because AI is not a thing. It's a word we use for a hell of a lot of things, which can be numerous, more numerous than we could list. So it affects how we should approach when we use specific AI, when we use specific tools for specific tasks and understand what AI really is. We know we're using the tool and not the AI. But AI is what empowers the tool like never before. Before it was internet that empowered, or a PC CPU that empowered. But now it's a thing called AI, which is an algorithm that knows how to process things better than anything ever before. But it still needs a CPU. Does it need graphics? Usually, but not always. It's just graphics really do speed it up. So, if we notice that the fragmented nature of AI systems reflects a fundamental truth about complex systems, and that they emerge from an interaction of numerous specialized components rather than existing as unified entities. And look at your own body like that if you're a Buddhist, and you'll see you're a bunch of organs, blood, legs, and members and stuff, and brains, but there's no unified entity. This parallel with biological systems and the AI knows that as well, the Buddha's concept of not self, and human organizations helps explain both the capabilities and limitations of current AI technology. That reminds me of a joke. As Geordi in Star Trek was fixing his android friend Data, he said he felt funny screwing around in the back of his head in the wires. And Data said, "Why, Geordi? You're my friend. I trust you." He says, "Well, I've never really screwed around with loads of..." He says, "Although you're a load of electrical wires and a positronic brain, I think of you as a friend, a real friend." And Data said back to him, the android says, "Thank you, Geordi. Although you're a bag of biological, quite distasteful serums and slime and blood and guts and stuff that has a limited time span and has strange smells, I also think of you as a friend." So, this perspective promotes a more realistic understanding of AI systems. Hopefully it moves you beyond the simplified notion of unified artificial minds, that there's one thing called an AI called GPT chat, because there isn't. And that you learn to recognize them as a complex network of specialized processes and components which work together in a matrix to create the illusion of unified intelligence. Okay? So, the webmaster, Cicada 33, or John Spencer, signing off.